I'm James Brown. I'm the development manager at WYSport, and we've been working on a project called Creating Connections now for probably the past 18 months. The initial idea for the project came back in 2008 when we came across a guy called Pete Blewett, and we'd been in contact with him because he wanted to get involved with visually impaired cricket. He'd lost his sight pretty much overnight in 2008 following a brain tumour, and he'd seen some of the information on VI cricket through his brother at the time, and he wanted to really get engaged with the sport and see how it could help him in terms of rehabilitation, I suppose, and getting back to a normal life following his loss of sight. So we linked him up with the VI cricket team and the club, the Yorkshire team. They're based in Leeds and also play some of their games in Wakefield. He really took to it. I think nervous at the start, but really then got involved with the club and started playing on a regular basis, kind of weekly. And he progressed and represented the club, and he's kind of eventually got himself up to the stage of representing England at a national level. And it was probably about 3 weeks ago, he gave me a call and just said, "Oh, James, I've got some great news. I've been selected to play for the international team. We're going out to South Africa for a one-day international series for visually impaired cricket." And that really was kind of a light bulb moment in terms of what had happened to Pete over, it's been 6 years, but the kind of pathway that Pete had been through in terms of his engagement with sport and physical activity, and how we potentially kind of had a link to that in how we'd engaged him in the sport in the first place. So the thing that came to mind was that was all by chance. He kind of came across it by chance because it was his brother who worked at South Yorkshire Sport at the time, and I'd just seen kind of a flyer for some of the visually impaired cricket activities that we were promoting up in Leeds. So he kind of dragged his brother along the first time after speaking to us and got involved that way. So what got us thinking was that, well, actually, how can we make this more a reality for other people? How can we make sure that other people are aware of opportunities and that they're signposted to these opportunities? And we wanted to put a structure in place where we could try and make this a reality for more people. So 6 years later, I suppose, is where we are now. We've got a structure, a pathway in place where people can be recommended to sport and physical activity through health professionals. We chose health professionals such as physiotherapists, our clinic liaison officers, occupational therapists, people who work in adult social care in terms of personalised budgets and those kind of things. We want to target them because they're the people who have the direct access and links to the participants who we want to really engage and really focus them in on opportunities in sport and physical activity. So that was how we kind of recruit people, through an online recommendation system or through a paper copy form, like a referral, but not technically a referral. It's a recommendation. We then have a chat to them. Essentially, we use the project uses guidance through Department of Health, guidance called Let's Get Moving, which is all around behaviour change and using motivational interview techniques, how to provide opportunities to individuals to make changes themselves, but also steering them in the right direction around the most appropriate opportunity for them, guidance around what's available locally, sending out packs of information around kind of motivational techniques to engage them individually in that activity. And we also used NICE guidance, which was around brief advice in primary care for individuals who might want to make that change. So that kind of all formed the foundation of the project. And then essentially we signpost people into local opportunities where there might be local buddy schemes. We try and link them into those to engage them into activity. And a whole host of activities really off the back of that, right from your really low level walking groups right the way through to some of the wheelchair sports clubs, rugby for example, or basketball, and a whole host of different things within that. One of the most recent examples would be Danielle, who'd come through her physiotherapist in Kirklees. Unfortunately, she became a wheelchair user last year following a car accident. But again, her physio thought that through following the kind of rehabilitation medical kind of process she'd been through, they really wanted to engage her in local community opportunities and really make sure there was local access to those kind of things that she could do herself. So they got in contact through the recommendation process, through the pathway, and we were able to link up Danielle with a local Kirklees wheelchair sports club, which she's now thriving in. She's now playing regularly with their guys down there, and is getting a lot of the benefits we talked about with Pete around the social aspect and the feeling involved and connected back to the community. So she's keen to be involved with the management committee and get involved with how she can promote the opportunities to other people as well. At the moment, Creating Connections project is a short-term project funded for 2 years, and it was really to test the concept really of whether or not we think we can make a difference with this new model of promoting activity for disabled people. Where do we see it in a few years' time? I want to see it mainstreamed. It'd be amazing to see it being used going forward in all the local districts across West Yorkshire, and it being kind of cemented definitely within the health sector in terms of how we engage people and being seen as almost the one-stop shop for advice and guidance around opportunities for disabled people across West Yorkshire. How that might be sustained is kind of in various ways at the moment. It could be through links with some of the work through clinical commissioning groups. It might be through potential funding through public health teams. We're also looking at kind of the charitable trust and the lottery in terms of funding applications for continuation of the project in the short to medium term. But long term, it would need to be taken on as a priority in all the local areas once we can show the impact and we can really demonstrate the impact in terms of qualitative and quantitative data around increasing the activity levels of this target group. And some of these examples you'll see next in some of the case studies we've developed and some of the links with not just the participants but the examples from some of the recommending agents who are using the service to encourage their participants to get involved in sport and physical activity.